All right, welcome to another winter special where today my special guest Ashley and I are going to discuss remote sales, something I know very little about, but I'm forcing myself to learn more and more about because it seems like that's pretty much a majority of what's taking place in our business now. It's pretty wild. When I started in the business, Ashley, 10 years ago, I had paper applications. I would go door knock, direct mail, even before appointment setting, and get in the home and then give a presentation and then pull out a 15-page Transamerica application and fill it out.
Wow.
And then write down their medicines and fax it in and all this kind of stuff. And it's changed so much since then that it's going to be fun today to discuss a little bit about remote sales. So quick introduction for those that don't know who you are, and we'll get into it together.
So my name's Ashley. I've been in life insurance almost 3 years, all telesales, never done the face-to-face thing. I enjoy staying at home, not leaving my house. And essentially I've been able to find my place in the industry and gain a skill set to where I can do anywhere from 20 to 30 a month on my own pen part-time. I only dial when my kids are at school. And so now my goal is just to help other life insurance agents, learn and get very good on the phones as fast as humanly possible.
I hear a lot from recruits that I speak to about their desire for remote sales because they're taking care of an elderly parent or they're the parent and they need to be close to home or, work from home and all these things that make perfect sense and that a good structure can provide them. So it makes a lot of sense. And I think to myself, if I would have entered the industry 3 years ago, I wouldn't have known what field sales was. Weirdly enough, I probably would have been mentored into a remote environment. It's just, that's how things have evolved over time. And it doesn't mean one way is right or wrong. It's just an interesting observation.
Oh, yeah.
Let's dive into some useful questions that I think people often wonder. And I hope someone watching the video that's trying to decide where to work or who to work with or what to do kind of take some of these actionable tips away because we're really looking to provide a lot of value in our 30 minutes together. Ashley, what should an agent look for in an IMO that they're looking to partner with?
Yeah. And I'm going to keep whatever feedback I have obviously geared towards telesales. There's a lot of IMOs. I definitely would say for agents, especially newer agents, pay attention to comps. Comps are important. If you find yourself in a position where you're told 60, 80% is a good start, that's not a good start. You need to be as close to 100% as possible in order for the math to work on your side. When you hear things like growth potential and having a team and recruiting, these are all signs that you're kind of walking into what they call an MLM model. Not really made for everyone. I personally don't love MLM models. I like the broker side of things. So you really just need to call around and have conversations and just don't go with a person who reached out to recruit you into the space. You need to do your due diligence. Ask questions like, what does the training look like? How many times do you meet up? Is anyone going to be able to listen to my calls? You need to understand the level of support that you're going to get. And if anyone's telling you like, oh yeah, that stuff's cool, but let's just, friends and family, you got to do this thing. Like those are some red flags.
Yeah. I think recruiting is powerful. Like I had an interview with John Kite that played a couple of days ago when this goes out. And he's a master recruiter, built massive agencies, finds agents, and then those agents find agents. And that's how a lot of places grow really big. Oh, yeah. But there's good and bad to that. And a lot of times, it's requiring you to recruit just to grow. And that's not fair, or recruit without knowing what the risks are with it. Ashley, I just had a $12,000 roll-up come through a couple of weeks ago, fully expecting it was going to come eventually. Get over it. I mean, we write that carrier enough, it'll be gone in a couple of weeks. To an individual producer, $12,000 roll-up would very likely ruin them, wouldn't it?
Yeah, I mean, it can. I always tell agents, as a brokering agent, don't spread your business out too thin. That's where the slippery slope and the danger comes in of I can't keep up with potential chargebacks. Because as a newer agent, you're going to get hit with chargebacks because you're not that good on the phones, right? You don't understand what flags are red flags in a conversation that you're having. You're just trying to push business through because you're learning what to do. So if you keep your core carriers tight, 3 carriers, and you only write those carriers and you stay on top of your activity and you show up every single day and you have goals and you don't stop until you hit those weekly goals, you can try to have your business eat that chargeback debt. But if you're running 5-6 different carriers and you're very inconsistent with your activity, and maybe you do 5 policies a month, then yes, you're going to hit a spot where one chargeback of $1,400 will ruin you.
Yeah. When I started, I don't know if my mentor meant to do this, or it was either he didn't realize it or did it on purpose. That's how a lot of the stuff was, but he was really good at teaching. He only set me up with like 3 companies. I wrote old Transamerica, old Foresters, and old American Continental, where Ruth would call after you submitted the application and say, "Thank you for your business yesterday," like old school. And that was it. And I couldn't have spread my business out because I didn't have anything else to spread it to. And it made it very simple. And I never really ended up with a lot of chargebacks. And I think so many agents do the opposite and then realize how troubling that can be. I talked to a recruit a while back. She had been contracted with more companies than she had written policies since she got started. And that's a problem. Like when you're looking at who to work with, how quick can I get paid? How simple are you going to make it? Or am I going to get overwhelmed with filling out contracts, not applications?
Oh, yeah. Yeah, that's a dangerous place to be. And as a new agent too, there's so many variables because I help so many new agents. And a lot of the lack of confidence that agents face is they don't trust like toolkits. They're worried about the application, how to do a signature, what does it look like? And so how do you actually learn 5 carriers at once? You can't master anything. You're just going to be spinning your wheels and like pointing at a carrier and hoping to place business. You got to keep it tight because you're also trying to learn, right? You're trying to get really good at like, oh man, I thought neuropathy would work here and it does, but I guess it was the 2 hospitalizations that pulled me from this carrier. Like you have to start learning those things to be very proficient with what you do, right?
I think it's the process before the products, especially when you're talking about signature processes and the nuances of remote sales. And, maybe get a little bit more grace when you're fumbling through it face to face and she thinks you're young and nice. And I don't know. I feel like the process,
smile and like talk through trying to figure things out. Telesales is different.
Yeah. Miss Johnson, can I go to the bathroom a second? Help! How do I do this?
Is that what y'all did in home? Y'all would run to the bathroom and be like, Riddler, I need help.
I remember though, I had one lady once, and this is not a data point, it's just a funny story. She said, I need to check my budget. That was her response. I'm like, this is an objection. I must overcome it. And I thought that I was trying to overcome it. And she's like, no, like legitimately, I need to check my budget. And she busts out a ledger, like the size of like multiple opens up this ledger.
Yeah.
And I'm like, ma'am, I'm going to go to the bathroom and allow you a minute to go through your budget. I went to her bathroom, which is usually a bad idea, come downstairs, and she's like, oh, I could afford $217. Okay. Wow.
Okay. Yeah. I mean, it is, especially in the senior market, I could see that 100% being a thing because they grew up writing checks at the grocery store, So it is a different, you got to kind of know your demographic too. That's a crazy story.
Yeah. Although I was messing around with some remote sales this week. Like, I don't even know how to get the headset to work right in my laptop with Go High Level at this point. Figure it out. And the lady says to me, ma'am, can you go ahead and grab your Medicare card? Like, I'm walking through the presentation. She's like, it's in a safe. I'm like, I feel like you're pulling my leg right now. She's like, no, it's in a safe. And she's like, hold on a second. I hear her get up and I hear her opening a safe. I'm like, well, you weren't kidding. It was in a safe. Go ahead and read that to me nice and slowly. It was crazy.
That's hilarious.
But getting back off the story track to a little bit more practical, value-based stuff, what things does an agent need, at least in the very beginning when they're setting up their remote business? Because you could buy so many things and many of them you might not need or may eventually need or could add later. You could overthink to death. What are just some of the basics I have to really do this correctly?
Yeah. So want to keep everything simple. I definitely would say you need at least kind of 2 screens to your business because what you're going to want to do is either have I usually operate with 2 windows open. And then on one window, I will have my CRM open and then my Slack channel so I can communicate with people. And then on the other window, I have toolkits and Funeralocity open. And that window also serves a purpose for doing applications. So you want to have your CRM and your application toolkit windows side by side so you can copy and paste and move things accordingly. What I find agents do, newer agents, is they'll have one laptop window and multiple windows, and they're dragging and moving and things are overlapping, and it's not a clean workspace. You have to have a clean work window. So be mindful of that. Sometimes you can do a split screen on a decent size monitor, or you can have a laptop and maybe a tablet or something next to you. But you definitely want to be able to operate from two windows and then also have your script. When I first started, I printed my script and I would use it that way. Now I keep it super slim off to the side digitally, just to make sure that I'm following the framework that I need to throughout the call. So make sure that you have your workspace nice and tidy. You do need a Telesales headset with noise canceling on it, just in case there's a fan or a cat or there's noise around you. In Telesales, that stuff will trigger resistance because people don't trust people on the other side of the phone. So you don't want there to be any background noise. So noise canceling, not Bluetooth. Always recommend a hardwire headset. Bluetooth, especially when you're using CRMs like Go High Level, internet-based calling, it takes a lot of bandwidth. And so you'll find in your calls that they will get choppy sometimes. The playback won't be good. Mildred might be saying, "What was that? How are you saying it?" It just doesn't read well all the time. So you don't want to fall victim to that. And you don't want your headset to die in the middle of a presentation, which happens to people too. So good headset, a good monitor, and then I would say a webcam if you're going to use like Crank Wheel. That helps you with the Social Security and the banking objections on the back end. And there's one more thing that I'm trying to think of off the top of my head. I don't have notes on it, but if it comes to me, I'll remind you. But those two main things will get you up and running so you can do activity.
So you're gonna have to tell me how this thing works in this thing so I could actually get this to work.
Yeah.
Well, it's strange. Like this thing works in this thing correctly. Like when I logged in to enroll here, it's like a Medicare live transfer platform. This thing goes into this thing and it works perfect. It was when I tried it over here, I'm missing a button or something, but I think people get
like the web browser. In that little search window, there's a little button and you actually have to allow the browser to use the microphone. So like if your computer says allow microphone, you need the browser to use the microphone too. That could be your issue.
Very likely. I feel like people want it to be perfect before they start, but I feel like you can still get the basics and then get better and better over time and accept that you're going to miss sales that later you'll get. Just because you weren't ready to get them or weren't prepared or weren't organized or never heard that before. And that thing never happened to you yet. And that's okay. Like it's okay to not get it completely perfect from the very beginning.
Yeah, you can't expect to be perfect in the very beginning. That's not how life works. Right? You can't, and nothing in life works that way. And here's another thing that I want to stress to agents, especially the newer agents who are listening to this. When you start in life insurance, within 14 days, you should be on the phones calling. Like a lot of people, the failure to launch as an agent is a big thing. What we do is very simple. It's not easy, right? You got to learn some things. You got to overcome some, you got to learn how to have conversations, overcome objections. You have to learn to get comfortable asking the uncomfortable questions. What we do is simple, but it's not easy. It's so simple that you can actually know everything that you need to know to actually pick up the phone in 14 days. When those contract writing numbers come in, you can hit the phones and start dialing, right? It's kind of like the same thing where you have to have life experience in order to understand everything that you're going to hit. When I was, prior to doing life insurance, I was a respiratory therapist, right? And there was a huge difference between when I would hook up a ventilator to a dummy versus going in clinicals and actually walking around with another RT on the ICU floor and touching buttons on a real life ventilator on a real life human versus graduating from the program and going in the ICU. Now I have no backup and I'm doing it myself. Right. So there's stages and tiers to it. So when you're going through training, that's like your school. That's your school 101. But then when you hit the phones, you have to look at your first 100 calls as your clinical rotation. You got to practice. You're not going to be great at it. You're going to be clunky. You're going to need help. You're going to need support. That's why community is key. Leadership is important. You need all those things to guide you so you can get better on the phone. And then eventually you will graduate and then you will be fine. You can go out there, you can call anyone that you want, and you pretty much hit every aspect in that training. So even when you hit the phones, just look at it as still learning experience. You're going to fall forward. You're going to eat dirt. Expect it. Expect it.
That's interesting. I came from a paramedic background and had no idea you had a medical background until like 5 seconds ago. And it's just, I think it's weird. Like a lot of like the progression of things that happened in life that led into insurance, I feel like prepared me for it. Like being in that kind of a job, you were very independent operating. It wasn't a desk job. It wasn't like a supervisor over your shoulder. Like I went into people's homes in the hood. So when I did that for final expense, I'm like, it was literally the same thing. Like this was not abnormal to me. Asking scary and complicated questions, normal to me. Like a lot of that stuff kind of prepared for that moment to those evolutionary steps to take place. But in this business, you're not going to kill anybody. Like you cannot. I
know that's a great thing. Like you don't have to worry about, I was so afraid my first code blue. I was like, oh no, I have to try to keep someone alive right now. You don't have to worry about that in telesales. It's not that deep. That's a beautiful thing.
Yeah, absolutely. Before we get into some of the more prepared questions or concepts I was thinking on, when people are getting into the business, it's scary because they're finding out that things cost money.
Yeah.
My original mentor, either on purpose or on accident, didn't tell me that leads cost money until I already had my license. I had already committed to doing this thing. And it's like, then I found cost money. Hell are you talking about? I don't have any money. I don't think I paid my utility bill yet the last month. But okay, too late. Like, let's figure it out. And I had enough faith and belief in the system and his training and what I saw already. I'm like, all right, I can make this work. So I opened a credit card. It was like no interest for the first 6 months. I had a good enough credit to get a credit card and put the leads on the card. And every Friday when they charged my card, I paid it off, rinse and repeat. I just did what I was told. But so many agents are afraid to make that commitment to invest the money. Maybe they don't have a lot of money.
Yeah.
Talk to me about what that looks like from your experience, getting into the business and finding out how much you have to spend to make it work, or agents that are afraid to do that.
Yeah, no, absolutely. So my experience coming into the industry was kind of very similar. I was looking honestly for something that I could do from home, part-time, pick up kids to and from school, do extracurriculars. I was just trying to get ahead on credit card debt, right? Because we were stuck living paycheck to paycheck. I just wanted to help out, financially speaking. Joined my first IMO, was not told that I had to buy leads or invest in this. I knew nothing about final expense. Fast forward, my first IMO, $2,800 in the hole. I was doing everything they told me to do. Buy these leads, buy our CRM, buy our dialer, buy this, watch these training videos, do all these things, $2,800 in the red. Obviously, my husband wasn't happy and we were tapped out. I came into this industry to get us out of a hole. And within a month, I dug us deeper in. And so for me personally, I had to find a free lead option. And I started doing research in the space and I realized, okay, some agents who financially can't get a grasp, they do free leads. And that's what I needed to help me get ahead. And so I joined a free lead model, found myself at an epicenter of all MLMs. I'm talking money guns, the yachts, the trips, the Rolexes, the stage, the hoorah, drink the Kool-Aid, buy the pitcher. Within 30 days of being at that IMO, I had recruited 3 friends and I haven't even tried to pick up the phone yet to dial. And so I've been through the gauntlet, but I transitioned from that free lead model. I was there 6 months, essentially only made 1 sale in 6 months because I don't count friends and family. And then I transitioned to an LOA free lead model because I needed training. That's what I was missing. I was showing up every day. I was doing the activity, but I was in the Kool-Aid drinking hype fest. There was no accountability. There's no training. I didn't know what to do on the phones. I didn't understand why I was asking certain questions. And so that's what I found. Now, within 2 weeks of intense training, the proper type of training, my first week on the phones, I made 5 sales. So here I am 7 months into the industry. I made 1 sale. I'm $2,800 in the hole. I'm sitting at my desk all day long with nothing to show for it. 2 weeks of training, 5 sales. Second week, 7 sales. Then I made 10 sales and I never left the double digits. So sometimes as agents, you might have to join a free lead model to help you while you're learning a skill set, get good before you move into brokering. I was in that LOA free lead model for 2 months. consecutively. I think my second month, I had done almost 50 policies. And so I thought to myself, yeah, I could do this thing. And then I jumped in. Other people are in a position where they say, no, I have the grit and the gumption, and I can put up the money to buy leads and do this thing. Just be sure when you do that, you have mentorship and you have support. You know, you have someone who has arrows in their back that can tell you exactly what to do and how to get there. Don't ask questions. Don't reinvent the wheel. Just follow.
Yeah, I couldn't agree more. I think it's interesting, and we'll spend a few minutes on this one.
Yeah.
I've tried free lead programs for quite a while, and some people work them. Some people literally don't. Like, they never even opened the email the leads came in. Some people hit a week of adversity, so then the averages break and no one's making money. And I feel like it's less practical in the field because, you know, if you failed out, I can't give your leads to the next person and try to recoup some money. But in remote sales, I can, you know, you're in that state, they're in that state. It's kind of, you can move the leads around a little bit to cover. But I also feel like some people need skin in the game. They need to have to want it. They need to make it back. They need a why. Like, it's, you see where I'm going with this one.
Yeah, they don't. And to give you some context, right? The first free lead model that I was a part of, the MLM model, it was kind of like that. They were gatekeeping leads. They would only give you so many. Now I understand why, because now I understand how the industry works, the cost to run a business, all that stuff, right?
Mm-hmm.
I was given very small batches of leads. And then I was told, go sell friends and family if you want more leads. That was kind of the model. But the LOA model that I was a part of, because it had the training and the support, I was literally told, in the first 2 weeks of producing, your first week, you have to do 5 sales. Your second week, you have to do 5 sales with age data. They're B leads. I was not given new leads. I was told you will get full attention for 2 weeks. You will hit the phones and you will dial all day long. If you don't make 10 sales in your first 2 weeks, you're out. I was gone. I couldn't stay in the free lead program. And so it was, and what I found is, as I watched some agents in the 2 months that I was there come in, they couldn't hang. They would not show up. They would come late. They wouldn't come to the meetings. They wouldn't do the things. And then they were out. And so the agents that stayed, it was a very unique process because everyone that was actually in this group, we were all doing 10 plus apps a week. We were all in the dial room. We had built a family. We were encouraging each other. We had a lot of fun. And we were working really, really hard together. But if we didn't maintain 8 apps a week, we were out. And so it was a free lead model, yes, but if you couldn't make the sales for the week, it was cutthroat, you were gone. And there was such a great level of mentorship and the community was so great that obviously you didn't want to leave, right? The only reason I left is because it was sucking all of my time and I realized I have a skill set now. I can make a lot more money, work a lot less, and have my time freedom back. That's why I left. It was a really good place though.
Makes sense. Let's talk a little bit about what great mentorship actually is. Because every job board, every posting, every FMO will say we have great training.
Yeah.
What does that actually look like to somebody to be able to make it during their critical beginning of their business?
Yeah. So training to me, and here's the funny thing is when I do training, there's no small talk. You know, there's no, how's your day? Here's what's going on with my family. How's this? What's that? And then let's talk about how to motivate you to do better. And here's a story of this agent that won and did great over here. And that's not training. That's empty space. That's motivation. That's like, how do I get you to feel good to pick up the phone and go do more activity? When I talk about training, I'm talking about, here's the script. We're dissecting it. We have multiple agents. We're calling agents out. We're round robbing. We're role playing. Everyone's throwing different scenarios at other people. You're writing notes. If you leave a training and you have no notes, you didn't have any training. Right? You have to do call reviews. You have to at least 3 times a week listen to your call or another call being dissected. Be in a place where you can ask questions and your questions are absolutely answered. You need to have a system that is so wash, rinse, and repeatable that as a mentor like myself, if there's a hole, multiple holes in a sinking ship, all I have to do is listen to a call and I know exactly where the hole is and we'll patch it up and get your ship floating again and sailing. Like that's what it means to, and it's just not in the space. Everyone says that they have training, but what happens when you show up, it's not training. It's just a bunch of empty and you leave without any notes because you didn't actually learn anything.
Yeah. It's why I go to, I don't just go to the gym and wander around and pick up equipment and put it down. I purposely go to like CrossFit classes, and I am not by any means some type of athlete.
That's a great analogy.
That's okay.
Yes.
But they say this, it's structured. Like even if you have different programming, because the programming can change, it says, all right, this is the warm-up activity. This is the strength portion. This might be a gymnastics portion that comes through for a period of time. This is accessory work. And a coach is required to demonstrate what the thing is, because someone might not know or remember, and there's no shame in it. They're going to demonstrate, all right, let's real quick. This is what a sit-up looks like. They all know what that is at 5:30 in the morning, but like, that's what a coach is providing.
Yep.
And then as you're doing the activity, there's other people around you doing it. So you can kind of keep an eye on what's happening and motivate people, of course, as well. And that's a really
great analogy, because I mean, if you go to Planet Fitness and they've got some ideas on the wall of what to do, you're just going to kind of wander. You're going to do a couple of things, but activity over time, you will not see a result. No. Versus going to a CrossFit class where you have a coach and a mentor, you could probably do half of the hours in the gym that you would have done walking around at Planet Fitness. And over time, you will see massive progress. Like, that's a wonderful analogy. You do the same concept here.
Yeah. And then the beauty of it, and I think the way your training works, and we're going to close up talking about your program and the way my cultural philosophy works at agency and the way it works at the gym, is like people are coming in at different stages and developments and sizes and shapes and wants and wishes. And if that's okay, like you might be brand new, you might be somewhere in the middle, you might be really, really good at it, but we can kind of craft the programming around all of them. So like the way it works in the gym is like there's like levels of the workout. So either like the extreme athlete or somebody who can barely sit up straight, and it's all scaled to like their different level of ability. And that's agents too. Like you have to accept you might be brand new, and literally figuring out how to plug your headset in is hard. And then the more you do it, the better you get. And before you know it, it's all second nature, and you don't even have to think while it's happening.
100%.
Let's wrap up talking about your coaching program. This is something new, unlike what anybody else is really offering. And I think it's interesting to just spend a few minutes talking about what you have available to folks.
Yeah, absolutely. So I hashtag the agent's mentor. I mean, to keep it simple, I did the team thing. I tried the MLM, building a team. There are things about the recruitment aspect that I don't agree with and I don't love. Like I told you, 6 months into the industry, I was in the red. I didn't make any sales. What I realized going to that LOA free lead model, that the reason agents aren't actually doing well and 80% quit in their first 8 months is a lack of training and support. There's no real mentorship. So that's what I've created with Amplify Life. I am just that, a mentor. I meet agents where they're at, no matter where they're at. I'm not building a team. I'm not recruiting by any means. I help agents all over. I mean, I've got folks at Symmetry, FFL, Digital BGA. I've got people with all sorts of different uplines, and it's a melting pot. But what it does is I give you a system. It's like the assembly line model, if you will, of life insurance. It meets everyone, no matter the stage of where they're at. I walk you through the CRM process. I walk you through the dialer. I tell you all the equipment that you need. Everything that you need is there. There's also the community. So I can always be very Johnny on the spot, help answer questions. Also, other agents love to help out as well. And then I do daily training. Hour a day, daily training, Monday through Friday, live in Zoom, because that's where growth happens. Again, you have to go in, you have to role play, you have to listen to calls. And if everyone's in the same page and everyone's reading the same script, we're all rowing in the same direction, you will be so surprised at how many aha moments that you have when you are actually following a process and understanding it. You can't just read the words on a script. You have to understand what you're saying on the script and what you're trying to get out of Mildred in each section of the script. So hashtag agent mentor. That's what I do at Amplify Life to help agents.
Outstanding. Real particularly or very specifically, how many leads do you feel like a remote agent needs to be working weekly for the numbers to work in their favor?
Yeah. So minimum of 100 leads a week, minimum. The stats is an average agent, like I would say a good agent. I wouldn't even say an average agent. A good agent who actually has a skill set and is very consistent with their activity, they will close at a 5%. So what does that mean? If you buy 100 leads, you're only making 5 sales. So it's just like a knob that you pull. Once you know your numbers, which is also something that I teach in Amplify Life, you know what to improve upon. So if you know that you are a good agent, your close rate is 5%, well, then you might need to turn that dial up and increase your lead volume in order to make 8 sales that week. In the inverse, as a new agent, you come in and you're only at a 2 or 3% close rate. Well, then yes, you need more than 100 leads a week in order to make 5 sales in the week to gain that forward momentum that you need.
Makes sense. And that's every week, though. I think agents make such poor mistakes in thinking, I didn't get through all my leads. I didn't get to them all. I can't do like, it's the consistency, the lack of consistency that makes me want to punch a wall when I see them doing that.
Yeah. And another thing too, that I tell agents all the time, you have to buy leads every week, because in telesales, and again, not everyone's going to agree with me on this, but within 3 days, it's aged. And that is the nature of how these leads are vetted. It's the algorithm that Meta feeds. Once they show interest or they watch an ad on Final Expense for more than 3 seconds, they are fed that over and over and over and over again. Yeah. I mean, that's why when you go to book an appointment and you let people book out more than 24 hours on your calendar, they'll say things like, oh, I already got this taken care of. Why? Because there's multiple forms getting hit their way. There's multiple ads. Speed to lead is important. So once you hit day 3, you're going to find yourself, you get a lot of upfront objections. People are resistant. They, because it's like their attention spans that of like a rice chip. Like, it's one of those things you got to, within 3 days, it's aged. So you have to keep the flow flowing. You have to work your leads down a pipeline accordingly to make sure you're paying attention to who you're contacting and how long you've been trying to contact them for. If you just buy leads for a week, y'all, and then you dial them and you have one batch try to last you 2 weeks, you're already failing.
I give the best example of that. It's like groceries. If you bought groceries on Saturday and you had a family, maybe it's just yourself, like whatever, you're going to expect the same amount of food in 2 weeks. Like either it's leftovers, it's old, it's moldy, it's expired. There's not any of it. Like, of course you would buy more groceries. Like, what are you doing to yourself? Yeah. Let's wrap up with a good controversial hot topic question. Okay. Not that controversial. What's the biggest mistakes besides leads that you see agents making that may or may not lead to their eventual failure in the business?
Biggest mistake is just not doing the activity. You are so inconsistent. You don't show up for your agents. They don't show up for themselves. I don't understand. I don't know what it is. I have interviewed agents, had heartfelt conversations with agents. They have a big why. They have a big dream. And then they're nowhere to be found. They don't show up, or they're inconsistent with what they do and how they show up. You're a 1099. No one's going to tell you to show up. No one's going to do this thing for you. If you can't show up and do activity, stay in a W-2. Go work at Buc-ee's. Go get a job anywhere else other than salesmanship. You won't last.
Told the guy a while back I don't know if YouTube censor stuff. Doug said bad words. I don't know if the video will get posted. I told him to defecate or get off the pot. And his manager did a great job. He asked him, he's like, to this individual, what was your activity this week? Looked him dead in the face on Zoom. And the guy mumbled and was like, nothing. Yeah. Bro, come on. Like what? And then it came to be my turn. And I just simply said to him, look, we have a lot of people that need our attention and our help. Like if you want to go back to your job, no one's going to judge you or feel differently about you. And that's okay. But like, if you're going to do this, you have to crap or get off the pot. And then he texted us later that he's going back to his job. And I congratulated him. I'm like, that's good. That's the business will be here if you ever want to come back to it.
Better do that than go deeper into debt trying to figure it out when really you don't really have to figure anything out. You just have to do activity. You just got to show up and do the thing.
Just show up. And eventually you'll just know it. That's the cool thing about this. All right, Ashley, appreciate you taking the time. I'm excited to see where your coaching program goes and where it potentially could go to help our agency as we diversify further into the phone. And like, comment, subscribe, and pay attention, because tomorrow I'll have a new video, because every day during Christmas break from the 24th on through the entire week, there are different people on at 9 a.m. for you to start your day with. See you tomorrow.
Love it. Thank you.